Chapter. We're talking real money.
Dang, there is a lot of money at stake here. There's a lot of money tucked away in houses. And as a matter of fact, it's a substantial portion of Americans' wealth. It's about 35, get this, not B billion, but T trillion dollars is tied up in our houses, our homes, a big source of wealth. Is that a good thing or a bad thing? That is the topic of discussion here on today's Talking Real Money, along with some of your questions. So, what do you think, Tom? Good thing, bad thing?
You know, I knew a guy once.
Is it a thing?
I knew a guy once, actually, beyond that had $200,000 of money buried in his backyard.
So
he told us once. I was like,
he was cash rich and house rich.
He's both.
You know, generally speaking, isn't burying money a bad idea? Haven't there been some terrible tales of moldy money?
I think they're still digging it out in Pablo Escobar's old hometown there, probably trying to find all the stuff that he put in the soil.
They're finding, some of D.B. Cooper's stuff still laying around, aren't they, every once in a while?
Every once in a while pops up. Yeah, is it a good thing? Or we'll get to that in a minute. Let's give you a few numbers first. You said $35 trillion.
Am I wrong?
No, that's right.
Okay.
But even more fascinating than that is home equity has climbed 80% since 2020. That's a pretty healthy climb.
A big chunk of that, though, was market valuations.
Yeah, right.
Way up post-COVID.
Indeed. Well, during COVID, right?
During COVID and post-COVID. And, my house went from 6 figures to 7 in that time frame. So a lot of that is there. But, yeah, there's money tied up in the house. I have some tied up in mine.
Thank
goodness it isn't all of it, all of the value of my house. At least that's my thinking. It's a lot of money.
Thinking. We'll talk about it in a minute, but yeah, and home prices apparently have been cooling. They say, especially in some parts of the country where they rose the most. Makes sense, right? Like kind of like the recent stock market, the things that went up the fastest. Guess what? They've been coming down the fastest, and this whole home ownership thing gets tied all up in this American belief that you got to own a home.
Mm-hmm.
You want to be rich, got to own a home. And we've discussed on previous podcasts, and you can go back and listen to them. The numbers do not back that up. Today, if you were trying to find housing, it probably makes more sense to rent than to buy. We've tried to spell all that out for you, but let's talk about the people that do have this equity and what the situation is, because one of the bad sides of all this has been the fact that the property taxes have gone up a lot. Now, I know you're in Florida where they're going to eliminate property taxes, right? You're not going to pay any
sure. We don't have to pay any. We don't have to pay anything.
No taxes.
The tourists will pay it all.
Yeah. That's true. So suckers. I got to rent a car here soon, and I noticed they put all those tax. But they're honest. They're like, that's a stadium tax. That's a blah 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 tax. They throw them all on there because we're only in town for a week and we don't care. We'll pay it, right? So. But if you live here, don't want to do that. But that's been a bit of a problem for retirees, right? They had a budget, and that budget has had to go up a lot. I was shocked at some of the numbers in terms of property taxes, how much they've gone up in some places, like doubles in some fairly substantial places over the last 10 years. That's expensive, especially when your income is fixed, as it probably is as you get further into retirement, especially those people just living on Social Security or Social Security and pension. So that's one problem. Another problem is what you just mentioned, which I think is the biggest one and does not get the attention it deserves, because oftentimes people get close to retirement. What do? They want to pay off that mortgage because it makes them feel good.
Right.
I don't have a mortgage anymore. I got to pay that. Okay, that's great. Which
it feels good. And I want to re-emphasize that. Is it good? We're going to tell you whether we think it's good or not, but it does feel good.
Well, I think it's good.
I think our feelings tend to drive a lot of our financial decisions, and this can be another bad one.
Yeah, I think for many people it is a bad one because most people have not saved significant enough assets in terms of liquid IRAs, Roth IRAs, brokerage accounts. money they may need cash wise because they did pay down the mortgage, right? I see people still take money out of IRAs and pay off the mortgage. That's tragic because here's the thing. Your home should not be viewed as a way to pay for retirement. Should not be viewed it could be viewed as an asset, but should not be viewed in terms of retirement income. Now, I do know, yes, you can get a reverse mortgage. There's other ways to get at the money in your home. They're still relatively expensive and they're capped at how much you can take out of your home, right? So that is something to consider as well. That's a big mistake I see people make. And now with 3/4 of the mortgages at 5% or less in terms of the interest, wow, I really struggle with people pay it off when it's that little. That's a problem. And then the other one, the article.
Not paying the thing off,
right,
not doing it.
Yeah, why would you do that? The other one that I hadn't really even thought about, and this article does mention, is for people that have young kids, children that are heading to college. Some of this can impact the ability to sort of borrow money to go to school, right? That could be a
because
problem.
of it's
the value. The estate has more
but
value.
I don't know
silly.
that to me that is a minor argument.
Yeah, no, I think it's minor.
The primary argument is, the two primaries for me are the illiquidity.
Yep.
And this is a fact that we have a hard time coming to terms with. And you alluded to it earlier that we've talked about it before. But the reality is, after adjusting for inflation, over 100 years, home prices have just about remained flat.
Yeah, people.
So you're thinking, wait, I could have bought a house during the Depression for $3,000, and now it's worth $500,000 or $700,000.
Oh, look at that!
No, but inflation changed the valuation. Remember, a bread was 5 cents.
Yeah, and
eggs
I did
were
the number. Remember,
for a dozen.
Did the number on my place, which was a double in terms of the value, but then you put in all the expenses, you put in inflation. The rate of return was remember we did it. It was 3% or something a year.
And then 3% before inflation. We didn't even inflation adjust that.
Nope, we didn't. So it didn't make a big difference. It's
really not the only thing. What makes it apparently and feel so attractive is the fact that it is a form of forced savings.
That's right.
I've been in my house almost 30 years now.
You should really go out for a walk or something. Just go outside.
I need to get out of the house.
Yeah,
I know. But I've been here about 30 years now, and I paid $360,000 for it, and it's worth about $1.2 million.
Whoa, you're rich, man.
Yeah, but the fact is, I also put in several $100,000 along the way. Inflation was part of that. I'm in Florida, where we have had better pricing than the Midwest, for example. So you have bigger gains in some markets than others too. That's something that you have to bear in mind. But the reality is that money, if I'd invested it in a diversified equity portfolio, I'd have more.
Yeah, you'd have more and you'd have access to it. And by the way, one reason your home value hasn't grown more is the neighborhood is kind of a Mickey Mouse operation, right?
Oh,
so, that's something to, consider when you're trying to figure out. But okay, kidding aside.
No, hold on a minute. Hold on.
Not going to let that one go,
no,
are you?
I have to break in. I have to interrupt today's program.
This is a breaking news story.
This is for all of you who keep pandering to Tom when you talk to him. I know you're doing it just because he's giving you free financial advice.
Oh, I see why.
I know, because you're going, well, I don't want to kill the goose that's giving me these golden
Piss
eggs.
him off, yeah.
But the reality is, you cannot tell me that joke was funny.
I'm waiting for the responses.
You can't quit telling him he's funny. Oh, Tom, you're really funny.
No, nobody says really.
Okay, all right. They don't
really
exaggerate. You're funny.
Funny. Yeah, they're funny. Yeah.
Maybe they mean in a, funny sort of way.
Let's talk about getting some of that money out of your house, because this is important. I mentioned
it's hard to get out.
Reverse mortgages, and the other way people have done it with home equity line of credit.
They're all expensive.
Refinancing. Now, you wouldn't want to refinance today because most, as I said, 3/4 of mortgages are under 5%. You don't want to refinance to one that's going to, what's it today? 7. That's a guess or so. I mean, you don't want to do that.
Let's go to bank.
But here's the thing about the HELOCs, which are also kind of expensive. They're getting harder to get. They're tightening standards. I mean, all these things when the economy looks like, well, maybe it's going to be a little weaker than we thought. It gets hard for banks and credit unions to hand out the money, and especially that home sales have been kind of a weak spot over the last few years. That makes those institutions nervous as well. So again, back to where we started, it's 6% getting harder.
6%.
Oh, 6. Okay. So not as high as I would have thought, but still fairly substantial. But so the home equity line of credit idea, which is something that I have floated from time to time when people come in here with a lot of home equity and they don't have much liquidity, I have said, look, before you retire, at least set that up as a way to try to get some money out of it. Now, remember, with a HELOC, you got to pay it back, and you got to pay it back at the interest rate that they have on it. So it's not cheap.
Which is, by the way, right now about 8 on HELOCs.
That is not cheap money. So
no, that is not cheap money.
So, okay.
But I see what you're saying. You're saying go ahead and get the HELOC, have the line of credit.
Correct. Yep.
Because once you stop having income, getting approved for a line of credit is going to become more difficult. Have it there in case of an emergency, so you can tap it if you need to.
Exactly. Yeah. Which I think is reasonable.
If need be, you just die and let your house pay off the mortgage.
Wait, the house will pay it off after you're gone?
Well, the house won't do it, but your estate will do it.
Oh, I see. I was like, that's a neat trick. I was not aware of that. Okay.
Well, it's the new AI houses.
It's new AI.
Artificial intelligence homes.
Yeah, I mean, so...
They're virtual. They're just virtual homes.
Just
you don't actually have a roof.
Didn't mention these. The downside, again, of paying off the mortgage, lack of liquidity. This is something we run into regularly. And the fact that you have that low interest rate. God knows why people want to pay something off that's 3-4%. I really... for the life of me, can't understand it. But the big picture takeaways for me still would be, and people do this every day, just talking to a woman tomorrow that gave me her net worth, and she included her home equity, which you can include as part of your net worth.
Yes.
But you should not include it when it comes to retirement planning because you can't get at that money. That's one. Number 2, this is something you and I talk about a lot, and that is deciding on a retirement lifestyle well before retirement. Is that going to mean a smaller place? Is that going to mean somewhere different? You should be working on that well in advance. I see a lot of people that get to within 6 months of retirement say, oh, I'm going to move to Arizona now. That's something you should be planning for a long time because all the factors that go into moving, buying a new home, et cetera, if that's what you're going to do. Here's another one. Mm-hmm. When I think about housing, which is something you've done well, and I'm closer, that is the day-to-day spending on your home, food, insurance, all the rest of it. I really like to see that fit under the regular income, right? The Social Security income, pension income, rather than having to pull on assets to just pay the day-to-day bills. I know that's not true for everybody. I get it, but I'm trying to position myself to where my mortgage payment's small enough, all the day-to-day stuff could be paid by the regular fixed income, if you were. I think that's important when it comes to retirement planning.
Let me add it. I want to add a little ancillary topic. This is slightly tangential, but it's really interesting. Also from the Wall Street Journal, there was a recent article. A lot of people, when they're doing this plan, they go, I'm going to move to a state that has no income tax, like Washington or Florida or Tennessee or wherever it might be, because I don't want to pay those high taxes. Here's an interesting question that I want you to answer. You ready? 2 states. Florida.
Yep. Where you're not going to pay any taxes, apparently.
Versus California. Okay.
Where you pay tax on everything.
So when considering the cost of taxes, the average price, property taxes, sales taxes, all those things, and the cost of homeowners insurance and the cost of car insurance.
Homeowners insurance in Florida, pretty expensive. And in California, got to imagine.
Which state, when you factor in
is the
taxes,
better deal?
Homeowners insurance,
I know this is a trick question.
Insurance.
I'll have to go with California because I know you're trying to trick me.
It is absolutely true.
And this is fascinating because we just had a client move to Tennessee who said, look, I don't pay any state income tax the way I was paying in
But
New
their
York.
sales tax is almost 10%.
I know. So you forget that they get you one way or they get. I think the whole moving because of the tax thing is a bad idea.
Colorado and California are almost identical.
Wow, that's interesting.
Florida, on average, is almost $14,000 a year. California is...
This is property tax?
No, it's property tax, car insurance, and homeowners insurance.
Ah, okay. Well,
And
14,000, that seems a random number.
well, that's the average a year.
Oh, average. Okay.
Average.
Okay.
And California comes in about two or 300 below that.
Yeah.
So it's about the same. Colorado, California, and Florida are right there in the most expensive places to be.
Which is fascinating because Florida has managed to come up with this reputation that it costs basically nothing to live in Florida now.
Insurance will kill you in Florida.
Insurance is bad.
Even car insurance is bad, and it's not for the reason you might expect. As a matter of fact, homeowners insurance is bad, and again, not necessarily for the reason you might expect. You would say housing insurance is expensive in Florida because...
Hurricanes?
You got it.
Yep.
Housing is expensive. Housing insurance and car insurance are expensive in Florida because of rampant fraud.
Yeah, and the homeowners thing is also high because of rampant mice. I mentioned the mice thing earlier, so yeah, I get it.
Okay, again, bad joke.
Not really funny. A little funny.
Not even a little funny because bear in mind, Florida is big. Is this really long state? Matter of fact, to drive from one end of Florida to the other,
north
how long
south?
do you think it would take you to drive from Pensacola to Key West?
4 hours.
About 12.
12 hours?
Yes.
Wow. You drive slow. No wonder they have trouble
that's a
getting anywhere.
long stretch.
How
grab
many
hold
miles
of Florida.
is it? How many miles is that?
Hold on. I'm going to tell you.
Sounds crazy. 12 hours?
It's so
I can get to
far.
California in 12 hours. I can get to the Bay Area in like 12 hours. I didn't know it was that big.
I'm telling you.
I can get to L.A. in like 19 hours. I think I did it once.
It doesn't look it.
No,
but,
that's crazy. So
I mean, okay, I am at the halfway point in the state.
That's halfway. Okay.
I'm halfway. And the drive from here on the Florida Turnpike, I-95, and then, the bridge, is 7 hours and 5 minutes to Key West from here.
Okay.
So wait, let's put in Pensacola. Let's find out. Hold on.
Survey says
12 hours and 16 minutes.
Really
that's the fastest route. 834 miles.
That's about what it is from here to the Bay Area. Fascinating. Yeah.
That is Florida. Wow. Florida is big.
It is big.
Anyway.
And apparently not as cheap as we thought.
Not as cheap as we thought. I'm moving now.
You've been saying that
summer
for 20
is here
years.
any minute, and I'm going to be miserable again. I know I'm going to be miserable again.
Well, welcome to my club. I'm miserable during the winter here. So.
It's 83 degrees today, and it's April. Anyway, go ahead. What else you got? You got questions.
I got some questions, Anyway, so think twice about your home situation and think carefully, especially around retirement. All right. From Cheryl in Fenton, Missouri. By the way, we're running a little short on questions. We've been doing a lot of questions. So if you've got them, write them, speak them, whatever.
I've got lots of spoken ones now.
Okay, weird, because they apparently love you more because you're funnier. You're really funny. Cheryl.
I'm really old. But go ahead.
I'm not supposed to say that. I switched companies last year and wanted to open an IRA since I couldn't contribute to a 401k with my new company until I was there 6 months. Mm-hmm. I think we have like a 3-month waiting period, which drives me crazy.
I've been there long enough.
We used to let people do it right away when I was running things, because I think you should encourage people. You should encourage people to save for retirement. We're in the retirement business.
But we didn't match.
We did after a while, but not.
Yeah, but not initially. And when you're matching, you don't want an employee's going to be there for like 3 days and then take your match.
The money. That's true. Right. Well, you could vest it later or something. All right. Continuing from Cheryl, my financial advisor said there may be dollar limits to what I could contribute to the IRA due to my participation in the old company's 401k early in the year, so I let it go. Well, no, we can answer that one right there. The only maximum in the IRA is whatever age you're at. For any person,
that's only Roth that you have.
She could do an IRA or a Roth, either one. You could put 7,000, one or the other.
Right.
Or depending on if you're
But she had
over
a 401k in that tax year.
That doesn't matter. You can do 401k and an IRA and a Roth for that matter. That doesn't matter. So the advice, she says, is it true? The advice is no, it is not true. You can participate both in a 401k and an IRA. With the stock market down, I wanted to open an IRA in addition to contributing to my 401k at work, but wasn't sure there were actual dollar limits. Well, the dollar limits are due to age, as I said. The catch-up is still 1,000, I believe. So it's 7,000 plus another 1,000 if you're over the age of 50. My husband doesn't contribute to a 401k as he's retired. I contribute to my company's 401k, but $7,000 annually. Now, the question, are there any advantages to opening an IRA, or should I just increase my 401k contributions as the investment options are decent enough, including Vanguard options? So the question really on the table after we get to the fact that, yes, you can do both a 401k and an IRA is, should money go into an IRA or should money go into a 401k? That's the question.
I prefer, if there's no matching involved, which there isn't in this case, I'm always going to be in favor of the IRA because of greater flexibility.
Yeah, I mean, the only reason to do that would be if your income goes up high enough where the point where you can't do a Roth. Yeah, and then you have money in an IRA, and then it's going to make it harder to do the backdoor Roth.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
But otherwise,
nothing is really simple, and there is nothing that's absolutely straightforward. And you'll get an argument for some that it's better to put it in the 401k because of the asset protections.
ERISA protections would be greater.
The ERISA protections, because there is no ERISA protection for an IRA, but there is for a company plan. So there are all kinds of pros and cons, but just generally speaking, most 401ks do not offer the investment flexibility that allows you to build a decent portfolio. But that's it really, if you have good funds in your 401, that's a minor consideration. And we're quibbling over minutia.
Yeah, and I'm going to give a shout out.
Too much of what we talk about gets down to quibbling over minutia.
I'm going to give a shout out to my fiber guy who was there yesterday. And boy, did I get some good fiber. Let me tell you right now.
Tom's trying to fix his internet that has been notoriously...
No. This is for breakfast. Really good fiber for breakfast.
He's not talking. He's talking about his fiber optic
cable.
Oh,
that's it. Yeah, and his plan at Ziply, good. He let me log in and look at the options. Good plan. Well done to you guys. Really good stuff. Build a terrific portfolio there. So, and I guess the fiber is working now because I can talk on the radio and everything. All right.
Got his grape nuts.
Enough bad jokes. Frank from Marysville, Washington. My wife has a 403B account. Her employer used to offer the 403B, but suddenly stopped it. Would it be wise to transfer her money in the 403B to a Roth IRA? Thank you. Well, if it's post-tax money, yeah. But if it's pre-tax money, then the 403B has got to go to an IRA. Anything to add on that one?
Nope, you did it.
I didn't mean to steal that from you.
No, these are just really pretty
rote.
Yeah, they're
straightforward.
Simple questions.
Yeah.
So I'm just going to take a nap while you do the rest.
That's it. Time's up. And that would be a good idea. Yes. Move the money from the old plan to your own management and either an IRA or a Roth IRA. Depends on if the money is, say, pre-tax, traditional, or Roth. Yes. Thank you, Frank, for listening.
Thank you all for listening.
Oh, thank you all for listening and laughing, which I really appreciate.
About 6 people laughed.
I see a 7th guy in the back row laughed at that. He thought that was funny.
Do you know, I was just looking, fascinating numbers. I was just looking at the podcast numbers for Talking Real Money. And so far this year to date, we have 53,000 unique listeners to Talking Real Money.
That sounds like a lot.
Those are actual different people.
We could fill a stadium. We should have a game or something. I could referee it maybe.
And year to date, wait a minute, was that right?
50.
No, that's wrong. I'm sorry. That was just for the month. Oh my gosh, that's just for the month.
That's crazy.
Year to date, it is 154,000 people.
We could have a stadium in one of those big stadiums in South America with that many people.
That is a lot of
thank
people.
You. I'm honored. Yeah.
The downloads for that same period, year to date, 2025, are we're on track for another 2 million download.
Wait, so the good news is, I guess we get to keep our jobs?
Looks like it.
Okay, just saying.
As long as we want to keep doing them in our advanced years.
Rapidly advancing years.
You know,
not.
years,
They
older
do
you
go
get,
faster.
the faster they
do.
go.
And there's an obvious reason why. Because you've lived more days. It just makes sense. So
little kids go like, but I don't want to wait until tomorrow. That's like a year from now.
My grandsons don't want to wait 12 minutes on a car ride. Like 12 minutes, Grandpa? I'm like,
that's a third of our lives, Grandpa.
I'm never going to get that time back.
Sorry, we haven't learned math in school yet, Grandpa.
Yeah, well, it's 6.
All right.
You don't care.
You want to add anything else?
No, I always want to say thank you, as you just did.
Good.
But I always want to offer our help either through questions like this. Happy to take them on, whatever they are. We take them as they come.
Call us on Saturdays.
Yep, and call us live.
3 to 5 Eastern, 855-935-TALK.
Okay, that's easy to remember. Or if you want some personal help, talk to a lot of people lately. It's been great. When the markets get unsettled, more of you call, but we're happy to chat. So just go online to talkingrealmoney.com, click on Meet an Advisor, and we will take a look.
Aren't the markets always unsettled? Isn't that the whole point?
Thank you. But it feels worse when it's up 10% one day and down 5% the next. So
you guys realize that if the markets were settled, your return would be right around zero.
Yeah.
If there was no up and down, then it would be about zero. That's the expectation. Anyway, thanks for being there. Take good care of yourselves and join us on a regular basis on our little podcast called Talking Real Money.
The opinions and views expressed in this podcast were current on the date recorded. Opinions, estimates, forecasts, and statements of financial market trends that are based on current market conditions constitute our judgment and are subject to change without notice, including any forward-looking estimates or statements which are based on certain expectations and assumptions.
Although information and opinions given have been obtained from or based on sources believed to be reliable, no warranty or representation is made as to their correctness, completeness, or accuracy.
Information presented on the podcast is not personalized investment advice from Appella Wealth. The views and strategies described may not be suitable for everyone. This podcast does not identify all the risks, direct or indirect, or other considerations which might be material to you when entering any financial transaction. Past performance does not guarantee future results, and profitable results cannot be guaranteed. We hope you realize that the information provided on Talking Real Money is for informational, educational, and hopefully enjoyable purposes only. The podcast is not trying to get you to buy or sell any financial products or securities. Instead, the program is provided as a public service by Appella Wealth, a fee-only registered investment advisor.
Please see Appella Wealth's ADV Part 2A on our website for information regarding Appella's fees and services.
Appella Capital, LLC, DBA Appella Wealth, is an investment advisory firm registered with the Securities and Exchange Commission. The firm only transacts business in the states where it is properly registered or excluded or exempt from registration requirements. Registration with the SEC or any state securities authority does not imply a certain level of skill or training. Appella does not provide tax or legal advice, and nothing either stated or implied here should be inferred as providing such advice. Thanks for listening, and please visit TalkingRealMoney.com for more information and important disclosure related to performance of any specific index or fund quoted in this podcast. I think I need a nap.